Good day everyone, welcome to my channel Mental Awareness TT, where we talk about our everyday life struggles, how to overcome those challenges, and practical steps to become the best versions of ourselves. So, diving into this topic, it's 2026 but you're not feeling excited. Does that ring a bell? Well, if that's you, you're not alone. Many of us feel this exact same way, especially if all you did was survive last year. So I woke up in 2026 feeling this quiet inner storm in my spirit, and it was almost like a feeling of being behind in life, and it almost made me feel depressed. So those times before where you're just scrolling through social media and you're admiring the new beginnings for everyone else throughout the year, like a new job, a new house, a new car, a wedding, all these beautiful things that you have hoped for but yet has not come to pass. Well, that was me. And things that I would have personally liked to acquire would be like financial stability, a steady career, my own home or apartment, and when it dawned on me on All Year's Night that I'm going into 2026, and it's like I'm over the age of 25 and I'm feeling like so behind because I don't have all these things, that's when I had to really be in deep reflection. Now, normally on All Year's Night going into New Year's Day, I would go by my mom and spend time by her, but this All Year's Night going into New Year's, I actually spent time alone by myself. And I think that time that I spent by myself was the most important thing that I've done for myself going into 2026, right? And if you feel this way right now, I invite you to do some introspection with me. I have one disclaimer though, I am a Pentecostal Christian, so most of my worldviews will be based on biblical truth, right? So with that being said, let's dive into this topic a bit more as we do some introspection with me. So, this verse came to my spirit on All Year's Night. It goes like this: there are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Or in simpler terms, many other plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will be established. That's King James Version, Proverbs 19 verse 21, the first verse, right? So this verse came to my spirit and I had to stop and pause a bit, and it caused me to open up my eyes a bit more, because my soul was feeling like very weary, because I know I've been fighting battles in 2025 from family life, finances, and just mental burnout from trying to be strong all the time. And I told myself, I did everything I supposed to do to be successful in this life. I went to primary school, secondary school, university, and even became a graduate. And all these things that they tell us to do to have a good life, and yet I was feeling so far from the life I want to live, right? And don't get me wrong though, I'm still proud to be a graduate. That's something I will always hold in high esteem no matter where I am in life. So yeah, but the past years I would have suffered a lot of setbacks, including job losses, and there was even a particular year that my mental health was under severe attack, right? And I felt like many times I had to start over after all the delays and setbacks, especially when it wasn't even fair to me. Like I would have experienced some unjust situations, right? But to be honest, it wasn't really the trials that was hurting me the most. It was like the unmet expectations, the life I thought I should be living that, I'm craving because I don't have it. That is what was hurting me the most. And yeah, right? So I remember there was a time I went to a professional psychologist as an intern to get counseling, and I would have told her that my greatest fear is not reaching my highest potential in life. And quickly after that one session with her, I've come to realize that, at least for me, like my entire life, I feel like it's always been based on performance or perfection, trying to do everything as best as possible, you know what I mean? And well, I never really made much room for failure or mistakes, and I always expected life to be like this straight line until I hit adulthood in my early 20s. 19 going on 20 is where I really felt like I was beginning to make mistakes and those kind of stuff. And for the first time in my existence, being taught from an early age that, education is key, your degree, all these things would set you up to a high place in life. For the first time in my existence, I had realized with all your qualifications, your job hunting skills, everything you think, everything you thought that you have to make you successful, doors were very, very hard to open, especially for me, right? And I know there are a lot of you out there who feel the exact same way. It's almost like an invisible glass ceiling of limitation placed over your progress, or like you're climbing you keep climbing a never-ending rope just to reach to the top, and you can't see the top yet. But again, I heard in my spirit, be still and know that I am God. That's Psalms 46 verse 10. And in my spirit, as the years passed by, I became a bit more relaxed, or probably exhausted, because I know that I've been fighting so long to be this quote-unquote perfect, person, and I never thought to myself that maybe all the delays and setbacks was God's way of, anchoring me to put my trust in Him, and not my qualifications, not my passes, not, a building or an institution, and probably, His way of slowing me down so I can stop striving so hard and just learn to actually rest in Him. And what this means is waiting on His timing by exercising my faith in Him, basically. It means trusting His will for my life and, not trying to live life based on what I believe I deserve, And a lot of us, we don't really want to hear that, because it is very hard to hear something like that, especially if you're a person who believes that, yeah. So this again goes back to my previous point of living my life based on performance. So at a very young age, I remember I had already mapped out in my head what job I'll be working, what car I will be driving, what house I will be living in, and just the pure bliss of making my parents extremely proud. Yeah, and these were the plans I had for my life until, as I stated before, I reached over the age of 25 and realized that I haven't accomplished half these things yet. You know what I mean? Or I feel far from these expectations. So I became a bit depressed, because of this. But the merciful love of God never allowed me to settle or have my way. Every year since, graduating from university, it has been hard to secure a steady and stable job because most jobs are on contract these days. And I was determined, and still am determined, to be, an independent woman, because that is something or a value that I grew up on, and my mom trained me and my sister to be independent women, right? And I slowly started to realize, even after graduation, I still had a lot to do. I still had more climbing to do, and I felt like life wasn't happening at the timeline I had set in my mind to achieve certain milestones. So I began to feel worried and frustrated. And it's almost like a feeling as though, you must prove to yourself that you're good enough. Or you might even develop a feeling that if your life not, you might develop a feeling that, your life not worthy to live if it's not perfect or how you expect it to turn out, right? And I honestly grew tired of feeling this way, right? And if anybody out there feel as though your life is not perfect enough or worthy enough to live because it's not perfect, please listen to me very well, right? What I have gathered during these past years is that, we do not understand life well enough to know all its mysteries, right? And, or more or less as human beings, we don't understand the mysteries of life well enough to write our own stories, right? And I was told by a former church member to seek ye the kingdom of God first, and all these things shall be added. And I never understood what she meant. Even though those words were simple, I didn't understand what she meant. And I had to go to God in prayer to understand, and ask him, Father, what do you want me to do with my life? What are your plans for my life? And it took a lot of humbling, before God for me to be able to do this, because my heart was already hardened in my own ways and what I desired, right? And I had to exercise faith even more to trust him to be the author of my life, right? So in other words, I had to surrender my expectations to allow his perfect will to operate in my life. I'm currently on this journey where I am trusting him with the direction of my career, family, and whatever beautiful things I am still hoping for. And one thing I've learned about God is that if we humble ourselves and ask of him for his will for our lives and not our own desires, the answer may not come right away, but he surely do answers, right? So I'm encouraging someone right now who feels behind in life, or depressed, or even hopeless, to go before God with all the desires of your heart and ask him, Lord, what are your plans for my life? These are my desires, but Lord, I will still like to know what are your plans for my life. We could all start from there, right? And Lord, he may answer you in many different ways, in dreams, visions, prophecies, divine alignment and opportunity, right? And if you're in your word or in your Bible, he may confirm with a verse in your spirit. You will hear him, right? So be prepared to hear from him. Trust that you will hear from him, right? So moral of my story is, It does not matter how well you plan your life, without leaving room for failures or minor setbacks, you could actually damage your mental well-being, right? And living a life based on performance, is not really living. It kind of kills your spirit, because the trials, the tribulations, the setbacks, the things you didn't expect, all of those are things that are there to not just test you, but to build you, to mold you, and to build endurance in you, right? Most of our strongest leaders would have been tested in many different ways before they became the leaders that they are today. So life is never easy for a person. As much as that is what I got to understand, life is not as easy for a person who is going towards something great, right? So please take this special month of January to surrender your plans to God and ask Him to reveal His perfect will for your life in this new season. Again, my name is Simone Belfort, and I thank you so much if you reached to the end of this video, and I hope to do some more videos for you guys. Alright, bye bye.